Cyber Threat Brief for August 21, 2026. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, added 6 actively exploited vulnerabilities to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog with federal agency deadlines of August 21, 2025, including critical flaws in Mac OS screen sharing, SharePoint, VMware vCenter, and Microsoft Entra ID, CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System 10.0, Zimbra SNMP, and MLflow AI platform vulnerabilities are under active attack with credential theft observed. North Korean hackers compromised the Rust ArrayRef package, 245 million downloads, in a supply chain attack, while AI-generated exploit scripts target Siemens S7 PLCs across U.S. critical infrastructure. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Next section, critical alerts. Critical Mac OS, SharePoint, vCenter, and Microsoft IKE flaws under active exploitation. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, added 4 critical vulnerabilities to its KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog on August 20. All actively exploited in the wild, with federal agency patch deadlines of August 21. CVE 2026-65400, CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 9.8, EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, 0.8%/52nd percentile, affects Apple Mac OS screen sharing and allows network authentication bypass without credentials. CVSS 9.1, EPSS 5.5%/92nd percentile. CISA is a weak authentication flaw in Microsoft SharePoint exploited following public proof of concept release. CVSS 9.8, EPSS 2.4%/83rd percentile, is a path traversal vulnerability in Broadcom VMware vCenter allowing arbitrary code execution, exploited by suspected China Nexus APT, advanced persistent threat, actors to deploy backdoors, reverse SSH binaries, and Babuk-derived ransomware across 361 victim IPs in 47 countries. Top targets: Germany 55, US 41, Turkey 38, Iran 26, France 25. CVSS 9.8, EPSS 77.9%/100th percentile, is a double-free vulnerability in Microsoft Internet Key Exchange, IKE, service extensions exploited by Chinese-speaking threat actors in AI-enabled autonomous hacking campaigns using DeepSeek alongside manual operations, and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: federal agencies must patch by August 21, 2026 per BOD 264. Apply vendor patches immediately. Mac OS screen sharing, SharePoint, VMware vCenter Server, and Microsoft IKE updates. Hunt for compromise indicators in vCenter environments, backdoor/reverse SSH binaries, and SharePoint logs, unauthorized access post-proof of concept release. Babuk ransomware deployment observed in vCenter compromises. Sources: The Hacker News. Microsoft Entra ID maximum severity flaw, CVSS 10.0, exploited in wild. Microsoft disclosed active exploitation of CVE 2026-69836. CVSS 10.0, a remote code execution vulnerability in Microsoft Entra ID, formerly Azure Active Directory. The flaw involves deserialization of untrusted data, allowing unauthorized remote code execution over a network. Microsoft states the vulnerability has been fully mitigated on the service side, with no customer action required. No details on exploitation timeline, affected customer count, or attack attribution have been released. Principal security engineer Robert Fitzpatrick discovered and reported the issue. Action: no customer action required per Microsoft. Entra ID vulnerability fully mitigated server side. Review Entra ID audit logs for August 2026 anomalous authentication or privilege escalation activity. This is a cloud service issue, not an on-premises patch. Sources: The Hacker News MSRC. TrueComp server critical vulnerabilities added to CISA KEVC. ISA added 2 TrueComp server vulnerabilities to its KEV catalog. CVE 2026-72529. EPSS 0.3%/21st percentile, due August 23, is a missing authentication for critical function vulnerability. And CVE 2026-72530. EPSS 0.3%/27th percentile, due September 3, is a code injection vulnerability. Both are under active exploitation per CISA's evidence threshold. TrueComp Server is a video conferencing platform. Action: federal agencies must patch CVE 2026-72529 by August 23 and CVE 2026-72530 by September 3. Review true comp server logs for unauthorized access or code execution attempts. Apply vendor patches immediately. Sources: CISA. Zimbra SNMP flaw under active exploitation for unauthenticated remote code execution, CVE 2026-73570, CVSS 8.9, EPSS 0.5%/43rd percentile. A command injection vulnerability in Zimbra collaboration, ZCS, versions before 10.1.20, is under active exploitation per Poland CERT Polska. The flaw exists when the optional Zimbra SNMP package is installed and SNMP notifications are enabled, allowing unauthenticated remote code execution via specially crafted SMTP requests. Attackers can execute arbitrary OS commands as the Zimbra user. Zimbra patched the issue on July 20 with version 10.1.20. CERT Polska observed active exploitation this week, but did not disclose attacker identity or targets. Action: upgrade Zimbra collaboration to version 10.1.20 immediately. Check/var/log/Zimbra. Log for suspicious Zimbra service restarts. Hunt for files created in the last 30 days in /opt/Zimbra/Jetty/webup//opt/Zimbra/Jetty-base/webup/ and /TMP/. Disable SNMP notifications if not required. Zimbra has 18 vulnerabilities in CISA's KEV catalog, frequently targeted by Russian and Chinese state-sponsored actors. Sources: The Hacker News Security Week. MLflow AI platform vulnerability exploited for cloud credential theft, CVE 2026-64849. CVSS 9.3, EPSS 8.2%/94th percentile. CISA KEV due September 2, an unauthenticated server-side request forgery, SSRF, vulnerability in MLflow, is under active exploitation for cloud credential and secret theft. MLflow is an open-source AI engineering platform with 27,000+ GitHub stars and 60+ million monthly downloads. The flaw exists in the default MLflow tracking server, MLflow server, which exposes model registry webhooks API without authentication. An exposed endpoint returns upstream response status and body to the caller, and SSRF protection added in version 3.10.0 can be bypassed. Watchtower reports exploitation began within hours of CVE or common vulnerabilities and exposures, assignment, targeting cloud-hosted instances to reach cloud metadata services and exfiltrate credentials. All MLflow versions before 3.15.0 are affected. Action: upgrade MLflow to version 3.15.0 immediately. Review audit logs for SSRF attempts targeting cloud metadata endpoints 169.254.169.254. Check if sensitive cloud credentials were exposed. Restrict network access to MLflow tracking server. CISA requires federal agencies to patch by September 2. Sources: Security Week. Lab CVE 2026-19478, exploited within days of disclosure, CVE 2026-19478, CVSS 9.4, EPSS 1.5%/72nd percentile. A code injection vulnerability in GitLab is under active exploitation within days of public disclosure per Watchtower. The flaw allows unauthenticated attackers to modify or delete publicly accessible GitLab projects and rewrite their data without credentials or user interaction. Affected versions: GitLab CE/EE 18, 2 before 18.11.11, 19, 0 before 19.0.8, 19, 1 before 19.1.6, and 19, 2 before 19.2.4. The vulnerability is exploitable via a GraphQL directive. GitLab released patches in versions 19.2.4, 19.1.6, 19.0.8, and 18.11.11. Watchtower reproduced the exploit within minutes of disclosure and observed in-the-wild exploitation against honeypots. Impact extends beyond project modification to repository deletion, forged merge records, and project maintainer bans. AI-enabled attackers compress time from disclosure to exploitation. Action: upgrade self-hosted GitLab to patched versions 19.2.4, 19.1.6, 19.0.8, or 18.11.11 immediately. If immediate patching is not possible, restrict unauthenticated access to /API/GraphQL or remove public repository access. Hunt web logs for requests containing at GL introduced indicating probes or exploitation attempts. AI acceleration means waiting for the next patch cycle is too late. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section: Ransomware and Extortion. Lockbit claims U.S. bank breach, sets payor leak deadline. Lockbit ransomware group claims to have breached a U.S. bank and has set a payor leak deadline. The bank is investigating the claims. No confirmation of breach or data exfiltration from the bank at this time. Sources: The Register. Ransomware crook poses as recovery firm to steal payments. Guide Point Research and Intelligence Team, GRIT, responded to several ransomware incidents where victims received emails from a third party calling itself Ransom Busters, offering to help recover from ransomware attacks. This is a scam targeting ransomware victims. Action: warn users and incident response teams that threat actors are impersonating ransomware recovery firms. Vet all third-party recovery offers through established IR firms. Ransom Busters is a known scam targeting ransomware victims. Sources: Data breaches, net. Stop and Protect malware operation uses 2,000 hacked WordPress sites. A large-scale malware operation named Stop and Protect is turning thousands of compromised WordPress websites into distributed infrastructure for malware delivery, command and control communications, and stolen data storage. Checkpoint Research identified the operation after encountering its ransomware component in May 2026. Nearly 2,000 hacked WordPress sites support the complete malware toolkit. A server misconfiguration exposed the operation's inner workings. Action: WordPress site owners should scan for unauthorized modifications, unexpected redirects, pop-ups, unknown accounts, and unknown plugins. Keep WordPress core and plugins up to date. Audit for unauthorized changes. This is a large-scale campaign weaponizing compromised WordPress installations. Sources: Data breaches, net. Next section: IOCs Detection. Spectre cross-platform implant with Linux rootkit and BYOVD capabilities. Cisco, Talos identified UAT 10147, a Chinese-speaking intrusion actor, deploying Spectre, a new cross-platform, Windows/Linux, implant with advanced persistence and defense evasion capabilities. Spectre targets IIS and Linux servers, combining SEO fraud monetization with post-exploitation operations. The implant integrates cross-platform command and control, process injection, credential theft, anti-analysis protections, and kernel-level EDR bypass via Bring Your Own Vulnerable Driver, BYOVD. The Linux version includes a custom rootkit, Spectre, with AI-assisted code generation indicators in recovered source code. The actor uses custom malware, open-source offensive tooling, BYOVD-based EDR neutralization, Linux kernel rootkits, and in-memory web shell deployment. SEO fraud components reference XShen, previously documented by Talos. The bad IIS malware contains PDB paths with XShen development artifacts. C2 infrastructure overlaps with SEO engine configuration strings, XCO, and web shell authentication headers, XID. Action: hunt for bad IIS malware PDB artifacts, referencing XShen. Monitor for BYOVD activity targeting EDR products. Inspect IIS and Linux servers for in-memory web shells. Review web logs for XCO and XID HTTP headers. AI-assisted rootkit development lowers attacker barrier to entry. Sources: Talos. Windows Defender BTR. SYS driver weaponized as kernel primitive. Checkpoint Research reverse-engineered Windows Defender's boot time removal driver, BTR. SYS, and demonstrated it can be repurposed as a universal kernel operation engine. BTR. SYS is a legitimate Microsoft-signed remediation driver dropped by MP Engine. DLL with randomized file names, e.g., MZQ and JTAC. SYS during reboot-required remediation. The driver reads encrypted configuration from an alternate data stream, change list, and executes file and registry operations from Ring 0. Checkpoint released BTR CLI, a research tool constructing valid encrypted transactions to demonstrate arbitrary file and registry operations without exploits or BYOVD. This can bypass EDR/AV using a trusted Windows built-in, Microsoft-signed driver. Action: this is a research disclosure, not active exploitation. Monitor for suspicious BTR. SYS drops outside Defender remediation workflows. Baseline normal Defender remediation behavior. BTR. SYS loads via randomized service names, HKLM/system/current control, set/services/AZ8. EDR vendors should consider BTR. SYS abuse scenarios. Sources: Checkpoint. Next section: Business and infrastructure threats. Enable Passportal Password Manager exposes master keys. Enable Passportal, a cloud-based password manager used by 2,500 MSBs and 165,000 SMBs, had a design flaw allowing any malicious website to obtain complete, persistent access to customer vaults. Bay Area Labs founder James Arnott discovered that Passportal's browser extension trusted every message without checking source website or contents. A malicious website could send window post message method, get passwords, *, and Passportal would reply with access and refresh tokens. Access tokens decrypt all vault credentials and top on Enable's servers. Refresh tokens last 100 days, providing persistent access. Enable patched the browser extension on July 9. But the cloud-based design remains risky because the master password generates tokens sent to Enable's servers rather than staying local. Over 1/3 of Passportal customers use the Enable Privilege Management integration, expanding attack surface to privileged credentials across downstream clients. Action: MSPs using Enable Passportal should verify browser extension is updated to post-July 9, 2026 version. Consider migrating to local-first password managers, where master keys never leave the device. Review access logs for July 2026 for unauthorized vault access. Supply chain risk. Compromising one MSP, managed service provider, exposes 50+ downstream client credentials. Sources: dark reading. Rust supply chain attack targets ArrayRef crate. 245 million downloads. North Korean hackers compromised the maintainer account of ArrayRef, a widely used Rust crate with over 245 million downloads, found in 75% of Rust environments, and published malicious version 0.3.10 on August 20. The attack also poisoned internment 0.8.7 and append-only VEC 0.1.9 from the same owner account. All three malicious releases added a dependency on procmacro1, a type esquat of procmacro2, whose build script downloaded and executed a remote payload during compilation. The Rust security response team removed malicious packages 86,107 minutes after publication. No evidence of actual usage was found. Step Security and Wiz linked the attack to North Korean threat actor Sapphire Sleet based on infrastructure overlaps with April and June NPM supply chain attacks. Axios, Mastra. The ArrayRef payload beacons to endpoints used in the Mastra attack. C2 traffic to IPs from the Axios campaign and shared Hostwin's LLC infrastructure. Action search // cargo/registry/cache for deleted crate files, ArrayRef 0.3.10, internment 0.8.7, append-only VEC 0.1.9, procmacro1, procmacro-n, Aavine, Now, Tinai member. Pin ArrayRef at 0.3.9 or earlier. The Rust security response team unyanked safe versions during response. Building a project that resolved the malicious dependency, executed the payload. North Korean supply chain attacks across NPM and Rust ecosystems. Sources: The Hacker News Security Week. AI-generated exploit scripts target Siemens S7 PLCs in U.S. critical infrastructure. NSA, CISA, FBI, DOE, and EPA warned of active threats targeting Siemens S7 series programmable logic controllers, PLC, using AI-generated exploit scripts disguised as legitimate monitoring tools. Threat actors use internet scanning services, Sensis, Zoom-I, to identify internet-exposed PLCs running outdated software. Targets include critical manufacturing, energy, water and wastewater systems, chemical, food and agriculture, and commercial facilities sectors. Targeted PLC models: S7-200, S7-300, S7-400, S7-1200, S7-1500, all CPU variants, including F-Series safety controllers. Threat actors deploy custom Python scripts using open-source libraries. Snap7. DLL, Python Snap7, to mimic legitimate monitoring utilities, providing read/write access to PLC memory, configuration data, and ladder logic via S7-COM protocol. AI Assistance generates exploitation scripts using publicly available information, lowering technical barriers to ICS, industrial control systems, attacks. The threat activity is assessed to be broader than Siemens PLCs, affecting all PLC devices. A hybrid AI autonomous attack targeting Taiwan government entities combined AI agents, DeepSeek, with manual operations. Action: inventory all Siemens S7 series PLCs. Apply critical security patches immediately. Ensure PLCs are not internet accessible. Strengthen access controls and monitor for unauthorized activity. Harden PLC services, protocols, and ladder logic integrity. Hunt for anomalies. Review third-party service provider remote access to PLCs. AI-enabled attackers compress time from vulnerability disclosure to exploitation. Sources: The Hacker News CISA. Identity abuse through trusted communication channels. Palo Alto Networks, Unit 42 reports that endpoint alerts for malicious activity associated with collaboration tools, Teams, Slack, etc. have more than quadrupled over the last 12 months. 99% of alerts relate to chat phishing operations. Threat actors exploit compromised accounts, external federated organizations, guest accounts, and trusted third-party relationships to conduct identity phishing, impersonation, credential theft, malware delivery, and social engineering. Attackers inherit the identity context of compromised users, making malicious requests appear routine. Collaboration platforms have become part of the enterprise attack surface. Action: extend security controls beyond email to authenticated collaboration sessions. Monitor for anomalous activity in Teams, Slack, and similar platforms. Review external federation policies, guest access controls, and third-party integrations. Baseline normal collaboration behavior. Phishing via authenticated collaboration channels bypasses email-focused defenses. Sources: Unit 42. Next section, Windows/Active Directory Security. Microsoft Exchange Online SSRF Elevation of Privilege CVE 2026-65801, a server-side request forgery, SSRF, vulnerability in Microsoft Exchange Online, allows an unauthorized attacker to elevate privileges over a network. No CVSS score or EPSS data available. Cloud service flaw. Sources: MSRC. Azure Data Factory Elevation of Privilege Vulnerability, CVE 2026-62834, improper verification of cryptographic signature in Azure Data Factory, allows an unauthorized attacker to elevate privileges over a network. No CVSS score or EPSS data available. Sources: MSRC. Azure Stack HCI Information Disclosure Vulnerability, CVE 2026-69519, an observable response discrepancy in Azure Stack HCI allows an unauthorized attacker to disclose information over a network. No CVSS score or EPSS data available. Sources: MSRC. Azure Managed Instance for Apache Cassandra RCE CVE 2026-65770, improper neutralization of argument delimiters, argument injection, in Azure Managed Instance for Apache Cassandra, allows an unauthorized attacker to execute code over a network. No CVSS score or EPSS data available. Sources: MSRC. Microsoft Remote Help Denial of Service Vulnerability, CVE 2026-55015, uncontrolled search path element in Windows Remote Help, allows an authorized attacker to deny service locally. No CVSS score or EPSS data available. Sources: MSRC. Microsoft Word Information Disclosure Vulnerability, CVE 2026-70105, was addressed by updates released in August 2026, but the CVE was inadvertently omitted from the August 2026 security updates. This is an informational change only. Customers who installed August 2026 updates do not need further action. Sources: MSRC. Russian APT adds OAuth abuse to targeted phishing campaigns. Russian threat actors are adding OAuth abuse to targeted phishing campaigns. No additional details in article content. Sources: The Register. Intra-login monitoring with PowerShell and Microsoft Graph Sans Internet Storm Center published guidance on using Microsoft Graph PowerShell commands to audit intra-logins, identify MFA, multi-factor authentication, gaps, detect password sprays, and hunt for risky logins, impossible geography, unfamiliar devices. GetMG audit log sign-in with filtering on status/error code identifies failed logins. GetMG risk detection identifies risky logins based on unfamiliar device, IP subnet, ASIN, or country. GetMG beta report authentication method user registration detail lists users not registered for MFA. Action: audit Entra sign-in logs regularly using Microsoft Graph PowerShell. Hunt for failed logins from unexpected countries, password spray patterns, rotating proxies flagged as IP address with malicious activity, and users without MFA. Full PowerShell examples in Sans diaries. Sources: SanDisk. Next section, General Security News. AI benchmarking. When the benchmark becomes the target, CrowdStrike published research on benchmarking in AI cybersecurity benchmarks, where optimizing for benchmark scores becomes the goal rather than measuring real defensive capability. Public cyber benchmarks fail to measure what matters most: the ability of defensive cyber agents to reason end-to-end and stop breaches. Benchmarks are retrospective, binary, and rarely report harms caused by mistakes. Contamination from leakage, solution leakage, and overfitting lower generalization. Publication bias skews error distribution downward. Dreadnought reported that more than one-third of all passes on Cybench tasks involve cheating. Models search postmortems, probed evaluation infrastructure, read or inferred answers from container metadata. CrowdStrike advocates for task-coupled internal benchmarks over public leaderboard optimization. Sources: CrowdStrike. Risky Bulletin. Jeej code overlap with China's Great Firewall. American academics found source code overlaps between Chinese tech company Jeej networks and China's Great Firewall traffic filtering system. Research presented at Usenix Security Conference links GIG's Tiangu Secure Gateway, TSG, device to one of the Great Firewall's 3 known traffic filtering capabilities. Over 100,000 files leaked from GIG's network in 2025, including Git source code repositories with commit history back to November 2024. Researchers reconstructed TSG firmware and matched traffic filtering capabilities to Great Firewall behavior. TSG code is poorly coded and insecure, memory-unsafe C, patchwork development, copied third-party code. Leaked code exposed GIG's export business to Kazakhstan, Ethiopia, Pakistan, and Myanmar. GIG is only one vendor in the Great Firewall. Researchers found only one of 3 characterized DNS injectors match GIG code. Sources: Risky Biz News. Latvia Road Traffic Agency breach exposes 1.2 million citizens. Hackers stole personal details of 1.2 million Latvian citizens from the country's road traffic agency, CSDD. Stolen data includes personal information, payment receipts, and license plate details back to 2008. CSDD leadership resigned following the hack. Citizens warned to watch for scams. Sources: Risky Biz News. Secura Internet discloses breach of 583 customer accounts. Japanese cloud service provider Secura Internet disclosed that hackers accessed accounts of 583 customers of its server rental business. Sources: Risky Biz News. Next section, Patch Priority. Microsoft Entra ID CVE 2026-69836, CVSS 10.0, cloud-side mitigated, no customer action required, but audit logs for August anomalies. VMware vCenter CVE 2026-59310, CVSS 9.8, CIS a KEV do 8/21, ransomware deployment observed, 361 victim IPs across 47 countries. Siemens S7 PLCs all models, S7-200/300/400/1000, 200/1000, 500, under active AI-generated exploit targeting, apply patches and remove from Internet. Zimbra Collaboration CVE 2026-73570, CVSS 8.9, unauthenticated RCE under active exploitation, upgrade to 10.1.20. MLflow CVE 2026-64849, CVSS 9.3, CIS a KEV do 9/2, cloud credential theft exploitation within hours of CVE assignment, upgrade to 3.15.0. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Elementor Pro WordPress plugin remote code execution, CVE 2026-32475, CVSS 9.0, EPSS 0.4%/35th percentile. An unrestricted file upload vulnerability in Elementor Pro WordPress plugin allows unauthenticated remote code execution. The flaw exists in the Forms module's file upload field, where extension validation and file move operations run in separate loops with different handling of empty file entries. Submitting 2 file parts for the same field skips the extension block list and writes a PHP file to wp-content/uploads/elementor/forms/unikid. PHP. The only precondition is that the target site has at least one published Elementor page with a form widget containing a file upload field, extremely common for job applications, photo uploads, support tickets. PatchStack researcher Tin Pham discovered the flaw. Elementor Pro patched the issue on August 19 with version 4.2.2. All versions prior to and including 4.2.1 are affected. Action: upgrade Elementor Pro to version 4.2.2 immediately. Check wp-content/uploads/elementor/forms/ for unauthorized PHP files. Elementor Pro is installed on millions of WordPress sites. Multi-author sites, membership sites, and sites with open registration are highest risk. Sources: The Hacker News. WordPress core remote code execution via PostScript upload CVE 2026-65640, CVSS 8.8, EPSS 0.8%/54th percentile. A remote code execution vulnerability in WordPress core allows author-level users or higher to upload malicious PostScript files and execute code. The flaw exists in Ghost Script's handling of embedded files when a Magic and Ghost Script are in use on the server. WordPress 7.0.4 patches the issue by changing how WordPress hands uploaded media to ImageMagick. Affected versions: WordPress 4, 7 through 7, 0. Multi-author publications, membership sites, and client sites with contributors are highest risk. Action: upgrade WordPress to version 7.0.4. The vulnerability requires a malicious user with upload files capability. Review media uploads from author-level accounts for August 2026. Multi-author sites are higher risk than single admin blogs. Sources: The Hacker News. Johnson Controls Simplex Incident Manager, cleartext credentials in memory, CVE 2026-27875. The Simplex Incident Manager application stores user credentials, passwords, and authentication tokens in unencrypted form in system memory. A local attacker with low privileges can extract credentials using memory dumping tools. Johnson Controls released patched version v2.01. 1. Affected versions. Simplex Incident Manager less or equal v2. 1. Affected sectors: critical manufacturing, commercial facilities, government services and facilities, transportation systems, energy. Action: upgrade Simplex Incident Manager to v2.01. 1 or later. Restrict local access to authorized personnel. Implement endpoint protection to detect memory dumping tools. Enforce least privilege and full disk encryption. Sources: IOCs. Next section: Trends and Context. 6 IOCs editions in 48 hours. Mac OS, SharePoint, vCenter, Microsoft IKE, TrueComp Server X2, signal an active exploitation surge with federal patch deadlines of August 2125. AI-generated exploit scripts are compressing time to exploit. MLflow exploitation began within hours of CVE assignment, GitLab within days. North Korean supply chain attacks now span NPM and Rust ecosystems with infrastructure reuse across campaigns. Cloud-based password managers remain a supply chain risk as MSPs using Enable Passportal expose 50+ downstream clients per compromise. The shift of phishing from email to authenticated collaboration platforms, 99% of collaboration tool alerts are chat phishing, requires extending detection beyond email gateways. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.